Coronavirus has already taken 362 lives, infected more than 17,000 people and impacted millions more, including Australians living in China. Tonight, how two Aussies are coping day to day in potentially deadly ghost towns.
You don't really ever expect to see a major city look so desolate and empty.
It's happening. It's something you've read about in fictional novels, but it's real and it's happening and we're living it.
Wuhan, China. Ground zero and the epicentre of the deadly coronavirus.
It's actually very scary to wake up and see that another 40 people have died to the virus just while you were asleep.
An outbreak that's left cities in lockdown, millions stranded, and international borders closed.
People are getting a bit more stressed now. The numbers are rising. The food's getting shorter. There's less shops open every day.
Tim McLean is an Australian living in the Hubei province, just kilometres from Wuhan. He flew into the city at the height of the outbreak.
It's like a snowball effect, It just gets bigger, it doubles itself every time, and I don't know what's going to happen in the end, to be honest.
With no end in sight, this is his new norm.
So this is another empty street, usually bustling metropolis full of folks and bikes and cars and whatnot.
Now there are daily temperature checks before being cleared to enter shops.
We don't know whether it'll get worse, and I don't even know if it's safe to go out there.
Danny Chen is an Australian-born Chinese living in Shanghai.
When I leave the house, I make sure I've always got my N95 face mask on. It forms a very tight seal around your nose and your mouth, and it can be quite difficult to breathe through, but that's how you know that you've worn it properly.
People aren't taking any chances. The warnings are dire, the images confronting. It's a race against time for health authorities as hospitals are built to keep up with their ever-growing demand. This strain of coronavirus has been traced back to a seafood market selling wild animals in Wuhan. The first case was detected in mid-December. Now it's rapidly spreading across Asia and to the rest of the world.
I think we're a little bit behind because it was probably 6 weeks before everybody knew elsewhere that this was a problem.
The biggest concern with coronavirus is how contagious it is. On January 16, there were only 45 confirmed cases. That number jumped to over 10,000 by the end of the month. With the rate the virus is spreading, it is predicted it could infect more than 100 million people worldwide by the end of February. The common symptoms of coronavirus include fevers, headaches, having a cough or sore throat, and breathing difficulties. Over time, they could develop into pneumonia, kidney failure, and in the worst cases, cause death.
I suspect that there should be a lot more people infected in China.
Professor Ho Fang Hung is a Chinese politics professor at the Johns Hopkins University in the US. He says the outbreak is much worse than we think because China could be hiding important information.
In this kind of system that they really have this instinct to cover up and try to silently fix the problem before the world know it.
From a population point of view, it's not good if it spreads widely to millions and millions of people.
Professor Peter Collignon is an expert in infectious diseases from the Australian National University.
The implications if it spreads widely is even with a low death rate, there'll be a lot of deaths that'll be additional deaths to what otherwise probably happens during the winter period from influenza and other viruses currently.
So far, coronavirus is not as deadly as previous epidemics. In 2014, Ebola virus killed more than 11,000 people. Swine flu killed more than 500,000 people worldwide, while SARS, which originated in China, caused more than 750 people to die. The worst, dating back over a century, is the Spanish flu, which killed up to 50 million people.
We need to focus on people with symptoms. We need to keep you away from other people for a couple of weeks. We need to actually take precautions, at least for a while, till we know more.
The government has now closed Australian borders to foreign travellers who have left or passed through China. Upon returning to Melbourne, the Wong family has gone into self-quarantine. Their 3 children are among hundreds of kids forced to skip the beginning of the school year and stay at home for 2 weeks.
They missed the school already. They want to see the friends.
With borders closed, the local economy is set to take a huge hit. Around 1.4 million Chinese nationals visit Australia each year and spend around $12 billion. For now, the government is focused on rescuing Australians stuck in Wuhan. This mercy flight offering an escape to the young and elderly before they and the volunteer Qantas crew are quarantined on Christmas Island. Not everyone is on board. Today, Tim told us he still hadn't heard from the Australian government.
They have got my details, but they haven't been in contact with me once yet.
While Danny is choosing to stay in China for now.
At this stage, I don't think I'll be returning to Australia. It's too risky and I don't want to bring anything back to my friends or my family.